today we are looking at Tony Rice's guitar break on This Morning at 9. This is from his Plays and Sings Bluegrass album. They're in the key of A, so we're capoed on the 2nd fret. I'm going to be playing out of the G position, so any note names I throw out there are going to be relative to the capo. So let's slow her down to 70% and then dig right in.
Morning at 9.
Alright, let's pick this thing apart. I'm going to break it into 5 phrases or 5 chunks. We're going to go through it note by note, and then we'll talk a little bit about what the melody of the song actually does and how Tony's approach really just kind of outlines and anticipates some chord changes rather than adhering specifically to that melody. So, here's the very first phrase. It takes us from the 1 chord to the 4 chord, and if you've studied any of Tony's solos in the past, it'll sound pretty familiar. Okay, so a couple of things right off the bat. He is using a bluesy pentatonic shape here on the 3rd fret and 3rd position. He's using that again, and he's also taking a series of pull-offs to get down to the 4 chord. We've seen that before. Okay, so here's from the very beginning. I'm going to start on an upstroke on my open D string. This happens on beat 4 of the measure prior. That gives me enough time to get my 3rd finger up to the 5th fret on the G and B string for a closed C and closed E. Okay, then I'm going to go down 2 frets, and I'm going to do the same thing with my 1st finger, and then hammer on from that B flat to that B natural, 3rd fret to 4th fret. And then open G, okay, so that pattern, he uses it a lot, okay? After that G, I'm going to pull off from an F natural down to an open D, and then catch an open G again. One more F natural, open D, C natural, okay, and I'm still doing this with my 1st finger, open D, and then I'm going to take my 1st finger back to the 1st fret, and I'm going to hammer on from an A sharp, so 1st fret A string, to a B natural, so 2nd fret, 2nd finger A string. Open D, E, G, and then here's where the pull-off starts. Pull off from A down to G, E, G, E, G, and then I'm going to pull off from an E flat down to D, and then catch a C on an upstroke on the A string. Okay, so really slow. Oops. And that takes me to my 1st chord change. Okay, right into the next lick. Okay, so there's no pauses between lick 1 and lick 2. It's just right in it in a constant string of 8 notes, okay? So here's note by note, okay? So I've got my open D, and I've got a hammer on from a D sharp 1st finger on the D string to an E, okay? So 1 finger to 2 fingers. Okay, and that takes me to that E, G, A, catch a C on the B string, and take your 2nd finger, reach it up to that 3rd fret on the G string, for a B flat, and you're going to slide it down to an A, and then G after that, okay? So that's a really popular way that he handles or outlines that chord change to the 4 chord. Okay, after that G, you're going to play an E, G one more time, you're going to catch an F natural, 2nd finger on the D string, 3rd fret, okay, and you're going to hang on to it for a minute, and then it's eventually going to hammer on to an F sharp. Okay, so the next fret up, and then open D. Okay, so here's the timing on that part of it so far. Okay, now after you've hit that open D, you've got a really quick hammer on from a C natural to a high D on the B string. So 1st to 3rd fret. Okay, slide from your 2nd finger on the D string, 2nd fret E, slide it up to an F sharp. Then catch that high D one more time, but this time you're going to access it with your 1st finger, 3rd fret on the B string. Okay, catch that F sharp one more time, 2nd finger, and then a closed C, 5th fret on the G string, open G, a hammer on from A sharp so that's 3rd fret, 1st finger on the G string, to B, so the next finger and next fret up, catch an open G, and then a pull off from F natural to D, and then one more G after that. Okay, so here it is really slow one more time. Okay, so when I put those two licks together, this is what it sounds like. So we went from 1 to 4 to 5, and then we're about to approach the halfway point of the solo. Okay, so bridging that halfway point and taking us into the second half of the solo, this is what happens. Okay, so this is a fun one. So here's what happens. There's a hammer on at your 3rd fret, so 3rd position. You're going to take your 1st finger and you're going to hammer on from that A sharp, that's the 3rd fret on the G string. You're going to hammer on to a B, so 1 to 2, hammer on here. And then reach across for a high G on the E string, 3rd fret. Okay, F natural, that's on the B string with your pinky. High D, 1st finger on the 3rd fret on the B string, and then you're going to pull off from a high B flat to a high G. So pinky to 1st finger. Okay, then catch a F natural again. D, okay, C, close C, that's the 5th fret on the G string. Okay, B flat, 3rd fret, close G. Okay, so that's on the D string, 5th fret with your 3rd finger. Lay that over to catch that closed C one more time. Catch an open G, and then hammer on from an A sharp to a B natural. So that's a 3rd fret to 4th fret, 1 finger to 2 finger. Open G again. Pull off from an F natural down to D, and you'll see I'm doing that with my 1st finger. Okay. Catch that F natural one more time and slide it up to a closed G. Then catch an open G one more time. Closed B, so that's the 4th fret, but again with the same finger. And then catch an open B after that. So it's kind of weird. So you've got closed, open, closed, open. Okay, then I'm going to take my 1st finger and I'm going to go from a D sharp, so that's the 4th fret on the B string, and hammer it on to a closed E, so 5th fret. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing the next string down. Okay, so you watch this. I went 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, to land on that C. Okay, so one more time, really slow. Oops. Okay, now there's a lot of ways to skin this cat, and you might be shifting back to access that C at the very end, and that is totally fine. This is the way that made the most sense to me, especially at the speed that they're going. Because there's not a lot of movement there, and I've got time before I have to go to the next lick. Okay, now we're almost at the end of the solo, and I'm going to break this one into 2 smaller chunks here, okay? So, you've just played that closed C, right, with your 2nd finger, 5th fret on the G string, right? Okay, so here's where the next phrase starts after that. Okay, I'm going to stop it right there, and it'll make sense here in a second, okay? So, after I played that closed C with my 2nd finger on the G string 5th fret, I'm going to take that time to shift back into 1st position, and I'm going to play another C with my 1st finger on the B string, okay, 1st fret, okay? So, here's those notes. So, C, and I'm just going to walk it up. C sharp, D with my 3rd finger, and I'm going to lay it over to catch that high G, and then I'm going to walk it back. D, D flat, C, reach over with my 3rd finger, and I'm going to go from an A sharp to a B on a slide, so 3rd fret to 4th fret slide, open G, hammer on from an F natural 3rd fret to an F sharp 4th fret, and then I land on a D, and I've got 2 beats to let that open D ring. That gives me enough time to shift up to my 7th fret with my 3rd finger to catch that really high B. And I'm going to play B, A, so third finger to first finger. And I'm going to do the same thing on the next string down. So that's an F sharp, closed E, and I'm going to slide it back to a D. Okay, one more time. Okay, and I'm going to stay there in third position for a second. Okay, because I'm going to catch a C. And then I'm going to reach back, stretch back to play an A. Now, that's a tough stretch, especially when you're going up to speed. If you land on a B flat there instead, if you don't get all the way back, that is okay. And in fact, up to tempo, I catch myself doing that all the time. Okay, that's what he does. Okay, it happens so fast you wouldn't really notice it, okay? So, I've landed on that A, open G, F natural to F sharp hammer on, open D, and then I'm going to upstroke F natural one more time. Okay? So, one more time, here's that lick. Okay, so that syncopation is really important there. Alright, here's where we're going to end it all out. That syncopation from that last lick is going to stay throughout the first part of this lick, okay? So, watch what I do here, because I'm going to start this next lick on an upstroke, even though the notation might make you think it's a downstroke, okay? Okay, that's how he ends the whole thing, alright? So I've got a hammer on, I'm still in third position, hammer on from an A sharp to a B, so that's third fret to fourth fret on the G string. And then I'm going to reach to catch that G one more time. Same boxy, pentatonic-y blues pattern where I catch that F natural with my pinky. D, reach up for that high B flat and pull it off down to a high G. F natural again, D, C, B flat, close G, catch that close C again, G, an A sharp to B, catch that open G, F natural, D, and then I'm going to rock back into first position and I'm going to slide up from an A sharp, so first fret on the A string to the second fret. And then it's kind of like a lazy G run because those are the only fingers I'm putting down, and I'm going to catch a D, G. Okay. Okay, so really slow. Oops. Okay, now that syncopation at the beginning is really tricky, okay, because if I put the last lick with this lick, and then that's what happens there, okay? Alright, let's take a look at what the melody's actually doing. Alright, so I always like looking at how Tony's approach may or may not actually follow the melodic contour of the song. And I find this very interesting because a lot of times people consider Tony Rice to be kind of the standard for how you should approach improvising or soloing in like a jam session over some of these vocal songs, over these vocal tunes. And yet when you talk to people and you meet new people and play with them for the first time or whatever, and you talk about improvising, a lot of times they'll say melody is king, you should focus on the melody. And a lot of instructional material is out there that is kind of centered around that philosophy. And yet when you look at Tony, there almost seems to be like a little bit of a disconnect or a little cognitive dissonance between how people approach improvising around the melody and how people treat Tony Rice as, you know, kind of the pinnacle of bluegrass guitar. I always think it's really fascinating. So when I look at a solo like this or a song like this, here's bare bones kind of what the melody's doing there at the start. Right? Very different than how he approaches it. Right? So we can hear those chord changes. What he does is fits it perfectly, and especially at the tempo that they're going, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. I just find it very fascinating that in a break like that, it does not really follow the melodic contour at all, but it's still awesome. Okay, so when you're exploring this song or any of the other songs on this album, like maybe you're going to want to sing them or do them in jam sessions and stuff, just make it your own. Okay, so experiment with what the bare melody would do. Try throwing in some of those Tony Rice embellishments. Find some other pickers out there and just kind of try to steal some of their stuff too. And just, like I said, make it your own. Okay, so hopefully this made sense. You've got access to my notes there, so go really slow, pick it apart phrase by phrase, and then, yeah, good luck.